You just spent $400,000, maybe more. You signed the papers, got the keys, and walked into a brand new home that smelled like fresh paint and possibility. You were told it was built to the highest standards. You were told the finishes were premium. You were told this was the smart move. What nobody told you is that 90% of new homes built in the last decade were designed around a single goal that had nothing to do with you. That goal was cost reduction, and the method they used has a name the industry uses openly, quietly, and without apology. They call it builder grade. That phrase is not a compliment, it is a confession. Builder grade is the industry's polite way of saying the cheapest version of everything that still passes inspection. It means plastic where there should be brass. It means hollow where there should be solid. It means engineered composites where there should be real wood. It means your $400,000 home was furnished with components that were specifically manufactured to fail just after the warranty expires. And by the time you figure that out, the builder is long gone. This is the builder grade lie, and today we are going to expose exactly how it works. To understand how we got here, you have to understand what changed. 20 years ago, the residential construction market was dominated by regional and local builders. These were companies with roots in the communities they served. Their name was on the sign, their neighbors were the buyers, and their reputation was the only marketing they had. Quality was not a luxury add-on. It was survival. Then Wall Street arrived. The publicly traded mega builders, companies reporting quarterly to shareholders, absorbed the market. Today, a handful of corporations are responsible for the majority of new home starts in America. And when a company answers to shareholders before it answers to homeowners, the entire value system of construction gets inverted. The question stops being, how do we build a better home? It becomes, how do we build a cheaper home that looks like a better home long enough to close escrow? That is the system you bought into. And it runs on 4 mechanisms that most home buyers never see until the damage is already done. The first mechanism is the finish illusion. Walk into any model home and you will be seduced. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, subway tile backsplash, brushed nickel fixtures everywhere you look. It feels expensive. It is designed to feel expensive because the builder knows you will not look at the framing, the plumbing, the electrical panel, or the windows. You will look at the kitchen, you will look at the primary bath, you will imagine your life inside this space, and you will sign. But here is what that contract is actually delivering behind those beautiful surfaces. The faucets that look like they came from a designer showroom contain plastic cartridges and rubber washers instead of ceramic discs and brass bodies. The difference costs the builder about $4 per fixture. To you, it means replacing every faucet in the house within 5 to 7 years instead of 25. The cabinet boxes appear solid but are made from particle board wrapped in a thin veneer of printed vinyl. Real wood cabinetry expands and contracts with humidity without failing. Particle board swells, delaminates, and crumbles. The windows are hollow block construction with U-factor ratings so high that in cold climates you are heating the street as much as your living room. Premium windows can last 50 years. Builder-grade windows begin failing in 10. Every single thing you fell in love with in that model home was chosen for one reason. It photographs well and survives long enough for you to feel satisfied before the warranty expires. The second mechanism is the labor structure nobody talks about. In traditional construction, skilled tradespeople are paid by the hour. That incentive structure rewards precision. If a plumber takes an extra 30 minutes to seat a fitting correctly, he still gets paid for that 30 minutes. There is no penalty for doing it right. Volume builders dismantled that model decades ago. In the modern tract home industry, crews are paid by the piece. A framing crew gets a flat rate to frame a house. The faster they finish, the more money they effectively earn. Every extra minute spent pulling out a crooked stud, re-leveling a wall, or properly flashing a window opening is money out of their pocket. The incentive is not quality. The incentive is speed. The National Association of Home Builders confirmed in early 2026 that the industry faces a shortage of roughly 300,000 skilled workers. That shortage did not appear overnight. It is the direct result of a compensation model that drove experienced tradespeople out of residential construction and replaced them with workers operating under extreme time pressure on every single task. The defects this produces are not random, they are systematic. Improperly installed roof flashing that channels water into wall cavities instead of away from them. HVAC ducts that are crushed during framing because a worker did not have time to reroute them properly. Window and door frames that are not square, meaning the units are not plumb from day one. Foundation grading that is rushed and settles incorrectly in the first 2 years, creating drainage that runs toward the house instead of away from it. These are not mistakes. They are the predictable output of a system that rewards completion over correctness. The third mechanism is the material science of planned obsolescence. Your grandfather's house was framed with old-growth timber, dense, tight-grained, dimensionally stable wood harvested from trees that took a century to mature. That wood could get wet and dry out repeatedly without losing structural integrity. It was the biological equivalent of iron. Modern tract homes are framed with farm-raised lumber grown in 7 to 10 years. It is soft, it is sappy, it wants to warp and twist the moment moisture touches it, and for the floors, most volume builders have abandoned even this compromised lumber in favor of engineered I-joists. These are structural members made from compressed wood chips and adhesive glue pressed into an I-beam shape. They perform adequately under dry conditions. The problem is that modern homes are also wrapped in plastic vapor barriers for energy efficiency. That is not inherently wrong, but it means that any water that enters the wall system from a slow plumbing leak, from improper window flashing, from inadequate roof drainage, has nowhere to go. It gets trapped, and trapped moisture plus adhesive-based engineered lumber equals one outcome. The glue dissolves, the structural member fails, the floor above it becomes a safety hazard, and unlike real lumber, an engineered I-joist cannot be dried out and saved. Once it is wet, it is gone, and the only repair is replacement of the entire floor system above it. The same principle applies to the exterior. Fiber cement siding, the material covering the majority of new homes today, is a composite of cement, sand, and cellulose fibers. It was marketed as a superior alternative to wood because it does not rot. That claim is technically accurate and practically misleading. Fiber cement does not rot, but it must be painted, caulked, and maintained on a strict schedule. When builders install it at the minimum thickness and skip priming cut edges, as many do, moisture penetrates the ends of the boards. The cellulose fibers absorb water. The material swells and cracks. What was sold as low maintenance becomes a significant repair project within a decade. The fourth mechanism is the legal architecture designed to protect the builder, not the buyer. When you bought your new home, buried somewhere in the contract you signed was a clause that most buyers read quickly or not at all. It is called a binding arbitration agreement, and it is one of the most consequential things in any new construction purchase. By signing it, you gave up your right to sue the builder in civil court. If your foundation settles catastrophically, if mold begins growing inside walls that were improperly sealed, if the entire HVAC system fails because the ductwork was installed incorrectly, you cannot take the builder in front of a jury of your peers. You go to arbitration. A private process with a private arbitrator, often selected from lists that the builder has a hand in compiling, with no public record of the proceedings and no right of appeal. The East Bay Times documented years ago that arbitration clauses in housing contracts were effectively shielding builders from public scrutiny. Homeowners Against Deficient Dwellings has been lobbying for decades for lemon laws that would require builders to buy back defective homes. The effort has gained almost no traction nationally. The system remains intact. And it means that when the failures arrive, and on builder-grade construction they will arrive, you are largely on your own. There is something worth understanding about the moment we are in right now. As of early 2026, the new home market is under significant financial pressure. Median new home prices fell to around $392,000 in late 2025, down 8% year over year. Builders are cutting prices and layering on incentives to move inventory. Nearly 40% of builders surveyed in January 2026 reported cutting prices, with the average reduction sitting at 6%. When margins compress, corners get cut. That is not cynicism, it is mathematics. And the corners that get cut in a home are not always visible until years after you have moved in. So what do you actually do with all of this? First, stop treating the finished model home as evidence of what you are buying. The model is a marketing device. What you are actually buying is behind the drywall, under the slab, and inside the walls. You cannot evaluate a home by what you can see at the surface. Second, demand a pre-drywall inspection. This is the single most important step any new construction buyer can take, and most never take it. After framing, plumbing rough-in and electrical rough-in are complete, but before the walls are closed, hire a licensed, independent inspector. Not the one the builder suggests, not the one the sales agent recommends, an inspector with no financial relationship with the builder. Have them walk the entire structure and document everything. This inspection will cost you approximately $500. It is the only moment you will ever have to see what is actually inside your walls. Use it. Third, read the arbitration clause before you sign. Understand what you are giving up. In some states, certain arbitration provisions can be challenged. Consult a real estate attorney before closing, not after something goes wrong. Fourth, document everything. Every conversation with the builder's representative, every upgrade that was promised verbally, every defect flagged during walkthrough. Paper and email trails are not paranoia. They are your only leverage in a system designed to minimize your recourse. The builder-grade lie is not a secret. The industry uses the phrase openly. It is printed in catalogs. It is acknowledged in trade publications. The secret is what it actually means for the home you are about to buy, and how systematically the entire purchasing process is designed to keep you from thinking clearly about it until the transaction is complete. $400,000 is not a casual number. It is likely the largest purchase of your life. It deserves more scrutiny than a countertop finish and a stainless refrigerator. Now you know where to look.